Heather Szczepiorkowski. I have a studio at AVA. I just love it. It's so beautiful and so bright. I am a sculptor. I often work doing portraiture or the human figure. Those are my favorites, but I've also expanded to doing animals and flowers and just enjoying that too.
So you mentioned in your bio that you sent me that your artistic journey began as a young child, folding and squishing paper napkins into different shapes for your family. How do you feel these early experiences have influenced your sculpting style and approach?
Sure, I think, so I probably was about 4, and I grew up in a family of 5. I was the youngest. That was my first job.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very exciting to have a job when you're 4. But I would take each paper napkin and I would fold it in like intricate ways and in different ways. So everybody would get their own separate sculpture. So kind of, when looking back, like when you're young, you don't really have the understanding or the vision, but looking back, I could see that even then, like I was a sculptor. I'm self-taught because I have finally succumbed to my calling as an artist, and I didn't really discover or rediscover sculpting until my 30s, because it's not taught often. It's kind of very rare that that's taught, and I've had to travel for different classes, like to Arizona or Florida or different places to catch them.
Can you describe your creative process from the initial concept to the final sculpture?
Sure. I keep a running list of ideas, and when I get like an inspiration idea, I just write it down on a list of ideas, which is good because then I have it captured. Then I work on sketches, just really loose sketches, drawing, and then eventually I work on clay sketches, which are kind of like rough drafts of the piece that you're thinking about. So, and I really want to start focusing more on bozzetti. That's what sketches are called, because I feel like they are in their own right just beautiful works of art, and often they're just discarded or thrown away because they're thought of as just a draft. But I think they capture so much. Yeah.
What has been the most rewarding or fulfilling sculpture you've created, and what made it special to you?
Yeah. Hey. Her name is Dream Glancer. Yeah, I can turn around. So this is her, and I thought about making her for years and years and years and years and years and years. So probably like 8 years or something. And so it was just so gratifying to have like a concept, an idea that I had in my mind so long to actually come to life. I don't know, it's just really amazing for me. And people liked it, so.
Do you have a favorite sculpting tool or technique that you rely on regularly?
Yeah, I do not, because I keep finding, like for example, today I didn't have the right tool. There's a figure over there that what you do is it's almost like sandpaper, you refine it and you keep refining it so that it doesn't have as many bumps on it, and it makes more sense. So now I'm using this. This is like a really very stiff brush. It's been great. So this is my new favorite. So my favorites keep evolving, like from chopsticks to like wooden spoons you get when you have ice cream now, they give you like wooden spoons. So things like that, because a lot of things can be used as sculpting tools. So not just sculpting tools.
In that vein of the spoons, did you find you like used one and you're like, wait, this would be great for sculpting? Yeah. So I think people are starting to get the wooden spoons now, and so there's a tool called a sculptor's thumb, and basically the spoon mimics the sculptor's thumb. So instead of paying $20 for a sculptor's thumb, you can use a spoon. What material do you sculpt with the most, and why?
Sure, I sculpt with oil-based clay. So oil-based clay, it has clay, and then they mix it with like oil. Water-based clay is like clay, it's like crumbled up in a powder, and they mix it with water. So I started out with water-based clay, and I found a lot of my time was just trying to keep the piece like wet, or it would get too wet, then it would get moldy, then I have to spray it down with vinegar, and it was just so much work just to work in that material. So I do oil-based clay. It's just so much easier. I don't have to worry about it becoming moldy, and it'll stay. Like if I go back to this 5 years from now, it'll be fine.
Oh. What themes or subjects do you explore in your sculptures, and why are they significant to you?
Sure. I love portraiture. I love the human figure, and just for me, it's just so beautiful, the human figure, and And I love nature. I've done sea otters, and I have a little duck over there. I was just out in California, so I saw a really cool seal. I wanted to see a sea lion, but I didn't. So I love, for me, it's just capturing like what is the essence of a sea otter or the essence of a sea lion.
Do you typically sculpt from a live model, a sketch, a photograph, or something else?
Sure. So before COVID, I used to have models, and that was great. I loved working with models. And then COVID hit, and then that all changed. So I've actually really begun to rely much more on photographs because, I don't know, for a couple of years, that's all I had. So I don't do models as much as I used to.
You mentioned that you hope your sculptures bring joy to others. Can you share any memorable reactions or feedback from viewers that validated this hope?
Yeah, so this is my Dream Glancer. So Dream Glancer is about like acknowledging your dreams and working hard to make them come into the world, you know, from idea to actually a concept in the world. So I remember one of the sculptors I know, her husband, it was so kind of him. He just loved it and loved the angle of the head and the whole concept. And he certainly didn't need to say anything about it, but that made me happy, really happy. And I have a good friend. She has another piece. It's in her bathroom, and so she looks at it every day, and she says it inspires her and gives her hope. So that's perfect for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I don't even have a name for her yet. But she's Bozetta, and I really enjoy working with this piece. So I'm refining it, and today for the first time using a really stiff paintbrush. So it's kind of like using sandpaper. So for example, this arm is still really rough, like your elbow is actually not up there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that down. It's almost like sandpaper so that it doesn't stick out so much. And then this here, that looks odd. The nice thing about, and the bad thing about the human figure is everybody knows the human figure.
Yeah.
And it's even worse with the face, because if you get like an eyes are so hard because you have to match them. And if you get like an eye off a little bit, you know, tiny, people will just note it, they'll pick it up immediately. Whereas if you do something like a leaf, people aren't like, oh my gosh, a leaf doesn't look like that. So. But I love portraiture, I love the human figure, so yeah, so I'm working on smoothing it out. I know another artist that uses hot water to smooth things out too, so I thought I'd try the paintbrush and then the hot water to see how that worked. So I guess techniques, on some level they're always changing, but the same purpose of creating, you know, a work of art that will inspire others, so just different ways to do it.
Do you sculpt people that you know, or now that you don't use models, you just use pictures, do you just like find ones online?
Yeah, I've subjected my poor children to do that. When they were really little, I used to sketch them all the time. And they're really super quick sketches because they're like 2. 2-year-olds do not stay still unless they're watching TV. So half of them are just they're watching TV. I'm like, they didn't always just watch TV, but that's when I could sketch them. So definitely I'm working on a sketch of my son Luke. He's going off to college. Liam has been subjected to it. He's my other guy. So, but I've expanded to other models, which is good. Unfortunately, COVID kind of shut that down, but I'm working a lot with photos now. So they're given some relief now. But you tend to use the people, the faces around you, because it's hard to get a model sometimes. So what you do is you go in different angles so that you can, so I'm brushing this way, and then I'll brush this way, and eventually what it does is it smooths things down. Because one thing I've done in the past is I've used my thumb to smooth things down, which is okay, but the thumb, it's not convex, it's concave, so it tends to smush and indent. So that's why I'm using these.
So you use the oil-based clay?
Yeah.
Does that like never dry ever?
It never dries out.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the thing, I've taken some classes in Scottsdale, Arizona. There's a great school there. and sculpting school. So, because it's really hard to find sculpting, and they have to use what's called high melt. So because it gets so hot there, so the only danger is that your sculpture will melt because it's oil and wax, and so we don't have that problem here though. Like it would have to be like they're like at 110. So not yet. We haven't gotten there yet. Yeah. So it does not. I could pick this up like 10 years from now. It might have like dust on it or something like that, but I can cover that with more clay, but it would not have changed its form in any way.
So it would be like pretty difficult to like bring these to a show. You have to be very careful if you're bringing them to display them somewhere.
Yeah, it's been, as I go back and forth between my house and studio, it is a little tricky sometimes, loading and unloading sculpture. So I'm tending to keep smaller pieces of the ones I'm mobile with, and then bigger pieces I keep wherever they are, because I still have some stuff in my house because I settled in there for COVID, and it's hard to unsettle sometimes. So and get back everything to here. So
I'd be scared, like one and then just
actually she was 99% done, and because she was water-based clay, she slid off the stand.
Oh my god.
She like smushed her head, so I had to rebuild this whole thing in there. It was actually upsetting. Let's put it that way. The good thing is her face wasn't damaged, because that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But when I woke up that morning and I saw the thing on the kitchen floor, I was like, I can't even tell you what I was feeling. It was pretty devastating. So that's another reason, because it gets so wet and slippery, the piece can actually slip off the sculpting stand, because she did. So this woman actually, she's not gonna slip off. She can't. So it's good.
That's good.
I'm not getting any other questions or anything. Just working on smoothing her today, and that just helps me see, like, do I need to add more clay, like for her rib cage, or is that a good rib cage? I think it's looking good, but the more I smooth, the better I can see kind of the form underneath and understand, is the shoulder, there's a thing called the scapula under here. It's like, I don't really see the scapula. I should probably see the scapula there. So
how much learning about human anatomy did you have to do to figure
I'm
this out?
actually taking a great class right now. It's online. I don't know if I can do a plug. It's a New Masters Academy, and it's called, the guy's name is Ray, R-E-Y, and he is the best. I've taken different classes. He's the best anatomy teacher I've ever had. Like, he's amazing, and he starts with the foot, and then he works the way up, which is such a good way to, like, logically, because usually you split into your bones and muscles, but he actually just combines them both from the feet up. So
that's so interesting.
Well, I did,
because like that looks like the back, like you can see I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but I can see it. There's like, you can see the ridge of the spine.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Spine. And then sometimes I don't know how things look, especially doing portraiture. So I have a mirror over here, so I can look in the mirror and say, like, okay, that's how the nose really goes, or because until you have to represent it, either sculpting or painting or drawing, you don't really know what a thing is on some level, which I found kind of funny. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just gonna keep a little later.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your process, how you came to rediscover sculpture, anything like that?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess I would just call everybody to pursue their dreams, whatever they are and however improbable they might be, because that's kind of what gets you up in the morning. And it's taken me a really long time, because it's very hard to find sculpting, and I've had a lot of other things going on. So I guess pursue your dreams.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.